Okay. All right, so good afternoon and welcome to this month's Tuesdays with CKLS. Today we're going to go over the CKLS system grant and the State Library's annual report. All right, so I'm going to paste this into the chat box again. It's today's handouts. There we go. We will give you a Google Drive folder, which will get you, let me stop share real quick. It will get you the handouts. It'll get you the paper forms for so you can print off and write down the answers for your annual report. You can't submit those. If you try to submit those, I'll make you do it online, but it is a good way to go through it ahead of time. The system grant will open up January 2nd, and the State Library will open up January 1st. And I'll look at the due dates here as well. First, I wanted to show you where to find the reports when they open up. So if you go to the CKLS website, which is ckls.org, and you click on the Grants tab, it'll take you right to it. Let's see if it'll load here. There we go. And right at the top, I have moved the CKLS Annual System Grant Questionnaire to the top. You'll see that the questionnaire is due on February 1st. That is a Friday. It must be submitted online. And then we will have, we'll do everything to get the grant system mailed or deposited by the end of February. You see, I need to update that date. We should get you to your money by February 2019. On here, you'll see the system grant questionnaire will be live on January 2nd, and the form, which is for expenditures of system grant funds. This is what you spent in 2018, and it also asks you what you plan to spend on in 2019. I also have a spreadsheet that shows you what you earned in 2017 and what was deposited into your accounts in 2018, so what you received in 2018. And then I can also give you the spreadsheet to determine what you earned in 2018, so what you will receive in 2019. So here I have the paper forms, I have the system grant questionnaire, and the expenditure of grant funds. Okay. So let's see if I can click here. Okay. I got two of these open. Here we go. So this is the system grant questionnaire sample. Feel free to print this off and you can go ahead and fill out all your answers. So then when the questionnaire opens on January 2nd, you will be able to just plug it all right in. And then we also have the sample for the expenditures of funds. And I need to do a little bit of updating on them. I have the wrong form numbers on there, but we'll get that fixed. Okay. Let's go back to my grants. Okay, so let's look at the system grant questionnaire first, and then we'll go to the expenditures of system grant funds. Then we will go to the State Library annual report and go through that one as well. Okay, so this is something new for your system grant questionnaire. When you click on the link to go to the form, it's going to ask you to sign in. So you will need a Google account. If you do not have a Google account, I will show you how to get one. So you go to sign in, and I'm going to use another account. So when you go to sign in, you want to create an account. And then you can use your current email address. This means that you do not have to get a new email address to remember for a login. You can use your current library's email address. And then you would create your password and click next and sign in. So I'm going to actually sign in. And I'm using my personal account just to have a differentiation between my staff account. It works a little bit differently when I'm the owner. All right, so this is what your system grant questionnaire will look like. I gave you a link directly to the system plan, and I'm going to put that It should be in your folder of handouts that I gave to you, but here's the direct link to the system plan. If you have your system plan side by side with your system grant questionnaire, it's going to give you all the details that you need to know on how to answer all the questions on the system plan. All right. So of course, you're going to give your email address and your name. You're going to pick your library from the drop-down. That's all as it was before. And then I also break down how much the incentives are worth so that you know right away what the total potential earning is here. So the new thing that we were able to do this year with the system grant questionnaire is if we needed you to send us a file to substantiate one of the incentives, we had to have you email it separately in. Now we can just have you attach it directly to your form. So when you say that the library gave the library director an evaluation, now you can also attach a file. So let me go back and show you that real quick. I'm on 1A, I just add a file, and then I upload a folder or a file from my computer. This is exactly like you would do for an email attachment. So I'm going to pretend that this is my minutes of my board meeting where the library evaluation was given, the library director evaluation was given. I upload it. It's directly attached to the Google form. So now when you submit it, I can see it directly and it's connected to your account. It's all in one place. It should be very easy. And this one I need to update, obviously. I just saw this. Did your library provide an orientation session for new library board members? And instead of this part, where you send it to Peggy, instead, I can have you add a file where you would put the list of the documentation or the events that you gave your trustees for training. This does not mean I need to have a whole packet of the training. It does not mean I have a list of your meetings. What it would be is just a list of the training documentation or events that your library board was given. It could say, gave the last year's minutes, we gave them a list of the meetings, we gave them the trustee manual, we gave them the trustee resource guide, and we sent them to the trustee training. And that's just, it's just a list. It's just needs to be a Word document or something along the like of that. Are there any questions about the trustee training, new library board orientation question? Or attaching the items? I'm going to go ahead, but if you're still typing, I can go back to it. The next section is collection management, and I do give a description directly from the system plan. So a minimum of 3% of materials weeded annually is the Kansas Public Library standard. That's why we put this incentive in here. I also give you the reports to find out what your deletions are. So if I go to, let me see if I can move this thing. It's in my way. If I go to Pathfinder, which most of our libraries are, on your login page at the bottom are a link to all the reports you will need for the State Library Annual Report, including the two I use to find your weeding percentage. So what I take is the number of items owned at the beginning of the year. We're going to do lacrosse because they're at the top. And it's going to give me their total here on the second page. They owned 13,000 items at the beginning of the year. And then I go back and I run the deletions for state report. And what it does is it tells me how many items were deleted in a given year. So they have weeded 1,500 items. And to get my percentage, I take 1,549 divided by 13,703. And I can't do that in my head, but I'm pretty sure that's over 3%. That is 11.3%. So they have met their weeding criteria. Yay, good job. Good job, Barnard. So you just click yes. My library did weed 3% of the library's collection. The next one is a pretty easy one to answer. If you are a Pathfinder library and you enter all of your circulating materials into Pathfinder Central, then that is all you have to do. That is yes. That also means that it's automatically synced to the Kansas Library Catalog. So if you put everything on Pathfinder, then you click yes. And then if you have your own library catalog, if your library catalog is synced with the Kansas Library Catalog, or you have a system set up to put it on the library catalog as well, then you would click yes here as well.
Just gonna jump in here.
Yes.
That means circulating materials. So if you have things that don't circulate, that doesn't matter. That's okay. It's fine to keep some things that are for local use only. So it doesn't mean 100%.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, number 5, did your library actively participate in the statewide interlibrary loan known as Share It? Active in this case it's defined in the system plan. That means that your library checked your borrowing and lending requests every day that the library was open and filled the requests that you were able to fill. The next one is under special projects. And special projects is really loosely defined. If you look at the system plan, let me pull that up here. System plan we always post on the website. It's going to be under the About Us tab, system plan. You can also see the 2019 one as well. Okay. System plan. Active participation. Okay, special projects. They come up from time to time. The librarian just does not have the time to do the normal paid workday. So this could be paying for additional hours to do a special project. It could be labor to reorganize a collection. Maybe it's purchasing specific equipment or new equipment that just wasn't covered in the budget. So there's a whole bunch of options here. These are just some examples right here under special projects, programming presenters. So all we ask for is what your project was and how much you spent on that special project. Number 7, did your library conduct a summer library program for children and submit the evaluation in a timely manner? There are 3 options where most of them choose yes, no. Some people did do a summer library program, but they didn't submit evaluation. That's important to know. That'll affect your incentive earning there. Number 8 is a 2-parter. So read through all the instructions here at the top. If you met all your all the incentive here. So you need to conduct a story time or an alternate program that was approved by Youth Services at CKLS, and then you needed to submit a brief outline or calendar plan to the Youth Services consultant. So you need to answer both of those questions. The next one is continuing education. Each year, each library is given $700 for continuing ed, and then we ask you to track that spending. And then if you do not spend all of that $700, CKLS will reimburse the what you're remaining to get you back to $700. So if you only spent $300 of the continuing education funds, CKLS would reimburse that $300, so you still have $700 of continuing education funds. We give you 10 slots to list an event and the cost, and then we ask you to give us the total spent on line 9K here. Then we also ask if the library eliminated overdue fines in 2018. If you didn't have overdue fines before 2018, you would still mark that you eliminated overdue fines. Did the library purchase Kansas Library Association membership for the library director or the librarian, and also a membership for the library board chair? The cost for this membership is about $70, and I believe here in the system plan, here we go, there is a link to how you can get membership. Okay, any questions so far? All right. The next one is for marketing the library. We ask you for 5 examples of how you marketed for your library. The marketing, I'm going to go back to the system plan here. Marketing the library means getting the library's image before the people. Yeah, I'm reading it. You'd think I'd be able to say it. So this includes news releases, radio spots, cable television, advertising, brochures, annual reports, website posts, Facebook posts, Pinterest, Instagram if you do that, flyers outside the library. We just need 5 examples for marketing activities. And then I ask for your signature, and then I also have you check that you understand that typing your signature constitutes as your thing. And then I also have the option to send you a copy of your responses. I would automatically, I would click yes on that. That way you get a PDF version of what you submitted to CKLS. Okay. Any questions? That is the system grant questionnaire. The next one we're going to do is the, I'm going to fix this because that's bothering me, the expenditure of grant funds. Let me see. We're just going to take the form number out of that because we used to have 2 forms. We used to have one that's the expenditure of funds and one that was a certificate of eligibility. And what we have done is we have merged those into one document. So I don't need Form 1 and Form 2 anymore. Okay, so this is the money that you received from CKLS System Grant. You earned it in 2017 and it was awarded to you, or you received it in 2018. Okay, so of course you fill out your name, your position in the library. Sometimes a board treasurer would fill this out because they might have where this was filled out. You will need to have your board treasurer help you with this, at least give you the information about how your CKLS system grant money was spent in 2018. Total amount of grant. Also on the CKLS website, I give you the monies earned in 2017 and awarded in 2018. This is the one you want. Okay. That is the wrong link. Okay, I gotta update my website. Okay, just a second, let me get that for you. There we go. So here's the link. I will put this in the chat box here real quick. And then I will update the website. So here it is. You just find your library and you'll go across and see that you got your total grant that you received was this amount of money. And I'm going to double check and make sure. I made this really quickly, so I'm going to make sure that my everything is correct on it because it looks a little off to me now that I see it. But this will be available. The correct version and everything, I will double check, will be available in January 2nd. Okay. I apologize for the confusion there. I made that quickly and I didn't pay attention to what I did with it. Okay. So you will need to know the total amount of grant that you received, and then you plug in how much you spent for each thing. If you didn't spend any of your grant for salaries, you just put in a 0. If you spend it all in one place, it makes answering this a lot easier, but you can put in It has to have an answer, so you have to put in something. And then if you have money left so that you haven't spent yet in December, make sure you get that encumbered before the end of the year. You can't hold grant money over for the next year. It must all be spent in the year that it was awarded. And then your total here should match the total amount of the grant. So this number and this number should be the same. And then what we ask you to do is the same questions, but we're asking you, how are you going to plan to spend your 28 system grant? This means it was earned in 2018 and you're receiving the funds in 2019. So let's go back to the website. Let's hope this one's right. So here is the spreadsheet that will show you what is possible to earn in 2018 and that you should receive in 2019. You should have already filled out your system grant questionnaire, and so you should know if you didn't meet one of these incentives. I left those incentives there so you could go through. So if you know that you did not do the annual library director, you're going to take $200 off of the total grant possible. So instead of getting 12,147, it would be 10,147. No, that's not 200. It would be, 1,100, whatever it is. Okay. I'm on the wrong one. Okay. So it's going to ask you where you anticipate to spend the CKLS grant for the money that you receive in 2019 for the stuff that you earned in 2018. All confusing. And then we want the total. And again, your total here should match your total of a grant anticipated. Then also what I ask is, this is the part that used to be the certificate of eligibility to see if you're eligible for state aid and for system grant funds. Did your library budget increase or stay the same for 2019? So if your 2019 budget is the same dollar amount or $1 or even $1 more, then you would answer yes. If you answer the library budget did not increase, and so it did not stay the same, so it went down, then you need to answer the second question. Did your mill levy stay the same or increase? The reason we ask this is to determine maintenance of effort. So if your library budget decreased and your mill levy also decreased, that means it was a concentrated effort to decrease the library budget. So you're not maintaining maintenance. You're not maintaining the maintenance of effort, and so that would mean that you are not eligible for state aid or CKLS funds. However, if your library budget decreased because there is a decrease in your property values, then your mill levy would probably stay the same. You're just not bringing in as much taxes, and so there's not as much money there to fill. So that's why we have the 2-question standard there. I can send out, let me make a note and I'll add it to the handouts folder, maintenance of effort. It explains it so much better than what I'm doing. Are there any questions at this point? Okay. And again, I have you type your full name for your signature and then check the box that you understand what is going on. Okay, so those are the forms for CKLS. They are due by February 1st, I believe. Let me go back and see. I have it written down. February 1st, that's a Friday. I will close the forms. They will no longer accept any submissions after that date. And if you do not fill out these forms, then you're not eligible for CKLS funds in 2019. Okay. I'll leave page. Okay, and we're going to close this one too. Okay, the next one I want to show you is the state library, and I may have closed it, so let me find it here. We can close this one. All right, so I'm looking for the state library. Here is the link. I'm going to put it in your chat box here. This is the link to find the state annual report. You will also get an email from Megan at the State Library telling you when the state report is open. You can also find it at the State Library's website. So I'm going to show you where to find it on the website. All right, so hover your mouse over where it says Librarians, and we're going to let it load here. If you click on it, it loads the Librarians page, and it's just hover, don't click, and then bring it over to the Kansas Public Library Survey and State Report. So here is, I've added this to the handouts folder, but I'm going to go ahead and put a link to the instructions. The instructions are from 2017 instead of 2018, but they will get you through it. I don't think there's been any changes in the form. If you click on the Counting Opinions page, it's going to ask you for your username and your password. And if you don't have what your username and password is for your library, contact me. I have a list and I can look it up.
Everybody needs an amazing teenager in their life.
Exactly, everybody does. Welcome, Rainey. All right, so I'm just going to show you, if you haven't seen this before, if you've seen it, I'm going to go into, it's CKLS's one, but yours will look exactly the same. Right now it's locked, so you can't fill it out. I'm going to open up all the sections so you can see them right away. And I think I'll go to 2017 just so we can see it filled out. Ah. Lacrosse, since you're here, or you were here, we'll go back to lacrosse. So what it does is it should automatically fill out this information here. Please put in any changes if the library directors have changed. Some library directors have changed in the middle of the year. I would put the current director, as long as the director was in 2018. You can add your web address or your Facebook address. We'll automatically fill in your COHA information. And I believe you have to fill this part in here. So this is where I'm going to show you where to find all of this information that it's asking for. On the COHA staff client, right after you log in, I have put a link to all the reports that you need for your annual report. So we can also do here a patron count by category. And I'm going to right click and open it in a new tab so we can see it right away. That's the wrong one. You run up for that library and then you put in the total. So we see here that, where did my tab go? I'm going to close some of these so I can find my stuff. There we go. That our patron count has significantly changed. So when we put in a different number here, there's probably going to be an error message that says, why is this a big different number? And you can put in there that I bet Lacrosse cleaned up their patron records, and that's why there's such a big difference in the patron registered users right there. All right, most of this stuff will stay the same. If you've changed your library hours, you might have to change your public service hours per year. So that's just how many hours you are open a week times 52, if you're open 52 weeks a year. Most likely your address and everything's going to stay the same. If you have changes in staff, like you added a position, you may need to change your hours here, but most likely it'll be same from the year before. They're also going to ask you your wage range, and you can give a range. You don't have to give a specific number. So here they have two staff members as circulation employees, so they gave a range of what their salaries would be. And then what we're asking here in part 6 is, this is going to be what your mill levy rate was for 2018, what your library revenue was from that, from your library taxes from the city, or your funding agency if you're a district or township. It's also going to ask what you got in state aid for 2018, and it's going to ask what you got for system grants in 2018. So this number that you put in for these expenditures, total grant received, you're also going to put that number in here. And other revenue that you might have. There might, I don't know what it would be, but if you have other revenue coming in, you could put that here in other revenue. Maybe it's a memorial, maybe there's some kind of foundation that always gives you a certain amount or interest or whatever is on there. If your library has a capital improvement fund, you'd mark yes in number 7. Then you'd fill out wages and expenditures. This is where you are going to need your board treasurer to help you figure out all this information here. It should be in your library budget. It should be all figured out there, so you should be able to go from your expenditures of 2018 library budget and just go through and put that in. I don't think there's really much more I can say about that. Over here where this little pencil is, that's where you would add a note. So when let's go back to that Koha one, where I had the big change in the registered users. Where was that? Right here. I could put a little note here that says cleaned up patron accounts. So you removed all the expired patrons or something. If you put a note in there, then you're not going to get an error message at the end when there's a big discrepancy. Or change, I'm not going to say discrepancy, big change from the previous year. The Sunflower Overdrive collection is going to automatically be added. The numbers are going to be in there for you. You shouldn't have to fill that out. If you have other downloadable resources, you can plug them in, but I'm guessing most of us do not. Hayes and Salina would have Hoopla that they could add under other, but right now most of us don't have anything to add there. And the nice thing about all of this is that the total box automatically fills it in. So if I change a number, it's going to change my total. I don't have to do the math, which is very nice. All right, so the next one is number of materials, total for the collection, if you have any print or serial. So this is where you're going to use the report, items owned at the end of the year. It's going to give you, it's broken up by item type here. So you'll have to do a little bit of math, but you know that your total collections there is 13,000 items. It's also going to add your items from the electronic book, so that's going to add to your 13,000 items. Did I skip something? I feel like I skipped something. Oh, here we go. Books owned at the beginning of the year. That's where you do the report. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. So you have a report for books owned at the beginning of the year, and then you have one owned at the end of the year. So we also have a report for total added into the year by the collection, which answers this question. So you just run those numbers and plug them in from this report. We have books added during the calendar year, total added by calendar year. What I will try to do before January 2nd is to update my report links so that they match exactly how it's questioned here in the resource guide. That way you know for sure you're clicking on the right report. To me it's clear, but not everybody's in my brain, so I'll make that clearer for everybody. Okay. All right. So then we have books withdrawn. That is the report right now. It's deletions for state report, so I will make that match how it's written here. So then we will know the total print materials at the end of 2017, which is the items owed at the end of the year right now. We'll get those updated. And then we'll also need to know audio units and video units. and that will be separated out. You'll look in the report and it'll be separated out for you. Okay. Any questions so far? Since I had to jump around on that, I missed a section. Okay. Okay, so this additional resources, it takes your information here from 9.1a, 9.1 through 9.3, and then it also adds in the audio downloadable units, any video downloadable units, and any ebooks, and it puts it all together here in the total collection. So it's going to add everything that's on Sunflower eLibrary, all the stuff that's on the state collection, it's going to add that as well. So it's going to do a lot of that work for you. If you have any subscriptions to newspapers or magazines, you would add that number here. And then the state electronic collections will be added for you. You will not have to put that in. You'll also need to know how many computers you have available for the public. You need to know users or sessions used. This can be a best guess. If you know you have about 15 sessions a day and you are open, you're open 4 days a week and you're open 52 weeks a year, you could take 15 times 4 times 52. And you would get 3,120 sessions a year. This is your best estimation. You do not have to, if you have a running total because you kept track of that, awesome. But if you do not have that, you can replicate it. Yeah. Wireless sessions can also be estimated. Not everybody's wireless router counts sessions. So you could do a best guess here. If you know that you had 30 visitors in one day and they all came in with their own mobile device, you could say that you had 30 wireless sessions times 4 days a week times 52 weeks a year, and you'd get your wireless sessions. All right, circulation and programs. Okay, so circulation will also be listed here. Checkouts and renewals by collection. I will change that title again. Let me make a note because I'm saying I'm going to do something. I want to do it. Okay. Checkouts and renewals by collection. When you run this one, you want to run it for January. And I just run it to January of the next year, so January 2019. It did 31st. Anyway, we're going to run it for the year. It's going to give us our circulation totals for the year. It's also going to break it down by patron category. It's going to run for a little bit. You will have to do a little bit of math. If you have more than one patron category, that's for adults. Maybe you have adults, but you also have a seniors one, or you have a teachers. You would need to add those together. Oh, I'm doing the wrong one. This is checkout. So we know that, so for CKLS, we know that anything that's JFIC would be juvenile, and then everything else would be for adults. So I would add all the adults circulation together, and then I'd add all the juvenile numbers together to get my adult materials and children's materials. And then it will total it for you. I believe that the overdrive numbers should automatically be entered in for you, but I will put a link to the stats that Margie sends out every month to give you those numbers as well.
They actually are added.
They are added? Okay.
Yeah.
So that will automatically put in, as well as a statewide collection. The way they know to attribute it to your library is, at least in Sunflower Overdrive, when they log in, they choose your library as their home library. And so that's how we know that your library had 341 checkouts. If you have another online electronic resource, you can put those stats in there as well, but you'll have to know what those are. We also have other electronic resources available. We do not use these, but keep in mind that in 2019 we will be getting Hoopla, so we'll have to add that for next year. It's going to add up our electronic use, our material use, and then it's going to add it all together. For interlibrary loan stats, you should be able to, if you're a Pathfinder library, go up to, no matter which window you're in, go up to Share It, and you can look at your circulation stats through Share It. For this year, it's going to be a little hit and miss because we didn't get this at the beginning of the year, but you can get, we'll see if this works. I don't remember when you went up. Let's just do this. You should be able to get it for the months that we had this set up. So we know that we had 11 outgoing loans for CKLS, and we would add that to the input. The other way to get this, this statistical information is to go to the Kansas Library Catalog and log in as you, and then there's a stats page there. I don't have a login for Share It, but if you need help with that, feel free to call in. You can call me or you can call Kathy Ron and we can help you with the Share It.
And I'll just kind of weigh in on that Share It. It doesn't keep very good stats. So you're one of the ways that if you can kind of figure you're out, it's tricky. So it's most people just have to keep track of it manually, but
okay,
I really need to put a plug in for that tool because we have a lot of libraries not using it. And if you use the item type ILL borrowed, if you use that type, it'll keep track of it for you. But
right. So if so, I would think that for 2019, a good goal for you and each library is to start using the Share It tool on Pathfinder to do to add your temporary records and keep your stats that way. It's going to, I think in the long run, it's going to save you a lot of headaches. It's going to help you out quite a bit. Okay, so for interlibrary loan stats, that includes Pathfinder interlibrary loan and Share It interlibrary loan. So you'll have to add those two numbers together. I have here the links here for PIL borrows for a select period and PIL lending. I also have numbers for unfilled holds for library and unfilled holds for lending. So you would just run those numbers, add them with your Share It numbers, and plug them in. Borrowed photocopies, if you sent photocopies, microfilm, it says floating payaways. I don't know if you would count those separately or if they got mixed in with your other borrowed, but then you add them all in there. And then you also need to know requests that went in unfilled. And then also for their lending. So you need to add your Pathfinder interlibrary loan in with your Share It interlibrary loan. Okay, let's see. Any questions on that part? Okay, the next one is programming. And it's going to ask you about summer reading program. And if you participated in the Kansas Reads to Preschoolers, and then it's going to ask you about number of programs and attendance by age group. So you have birth to 5, 6 to 11, 12 to 18 for teens, and adults are 18 plus. Do your best estimation if you don't have solid numbers on this. And I believe you can count adults as attending summer library program if adults come with you. Come with children and stay for a summer library event. They can count as your adult attendance. Maybe probably go in here, I guess, with the other stuff. It's going to add everything up for you. And then the next one is technology and computer training. It's going to ask you what kind of computer drills do you have. Most of you probably offer on-demand one-on-one training. Somebody asks, how do I reset my password? How do I log into Facebook? How do I print this off? Those are on-demand or one-on-one trainings. You may or may not do classroom or group. And you might not promote Learning Express. And then you can say what you provide. Do you use basic computer use? Do you help somebody learn how to use a computer? Do you help with resume writing, job search? Do you show them e-government sites? Do you help somebody with their mobile device, help them set up a smartphone or connect their tablet to the Wi-Fi? Do you show them electronic resources on the state database? And then do you help them with setting up an email or, you know, any social media and that kind of stuff? One-on-one, informal training counts for all of these. And you can say, what skill levels do you provide? You can say that, yes, you give all from basic to advanced. You can also say, well, we only give basic to intermediate. We don't offer advanced computing skills. Okay. Number 12 is how you spent your state aid funds. Most libraries choose to spend it all in one place. That is fine. Just make sure that in every blank, and this is throughout the whole form, in every blank there must be an answer. You cannot leave a cell empty. If you leave it empty and try to submit, you'll get error messages and it'll be frustrating. This part 13 is very important. It should be automatically filled in for the last time your library board approved their Kansas Children's Internet Protection Act and send it into the state library. It should be done every 3 years. You probably, if you're due for a new one, you probably have heard from Jeff Hickson, who has asked you to have your board approve your computer use policy, internet use policy again. But make sure that you do this every 3 years, and it states it out for you. The next one, Civil Rights Certificate. Read through this, and then once you've read it, then you can say if you agree or disagree with the civil right certification. And the 15, the easiest part, you write who filled it out, what the title is of the person who filled it out, because maybe it's a board member that had to fill it out, and then the email to be best contacted. When you're all filled out, you'll scroll back up to the top, and there will be a button here that says submit. Also, you can save it, so you can go through and do bits by bits. This state report is due, let me double check here, I believe it's February 9th, but let me double check. February, that's 2020, no wonder I'm off. Okay, let's go back. February 9th, which is a Saturday. So that means your state annual report must be submitted online no later than 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, February 9th. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for questions or comments. I'm going to make those changes that I promised. I'll put the maintenance of effort information in the handouts folder. I will also change the report names to directly correlate with what's asked in the Kansas Library survey, state survey. And I'll put a link to the overdrive stats. It will be automatically submitted, but never hurts to have another link to that information. Okay, any other questions for me?
I will add a page that's the total number of overdrive circs, but I'll do it at the end of the year.
Okay.
So it'll be easy to find. It'll just be like what you did all year. So
okay, that'll be perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And I will say that if and when you get stuck on one of these questions, that is what I am here for. If I'm not in the office, please leave me a voicemail. I get that forwarded to my my cell phone, so I can respond to you fairly quickly. I think most of you have logged me in on your staff computer so I can actually see your screen, but if that doesn't if that's not the case, I can find your report here, just like I did for Bernard. So I have access to help you through it. I will state that the CKLS Google Forms are, you fill it out once in one go, you can't save it and come back to it. So make sure you use those printed copies if you think that you would have trouble filling it out all in one sitting, or you think you might get called away. If you have it written down, then you should just be able to go straight through it and get it all figured out. Okay. Let me see. Okay, so in the CKLS, Tuesdays with CKLS folder for December 18th, you should have your sample system grant questionnaire, the expenditure system grant funds, and I also have the system grant earned, funds awarded or received in 2018. I also have a link to the 2018 system plan, which is what we are asking for in the system grant questionnaire. And I also have the workbook instructions for the public library statistics. And if Megan updates this version, I will make sure to put the new version in here so you'll have access to it whenever it is. Okay. If there are no more questions for me, I'm going to go ahead and close it for today. I have recorded this session and I will have it posted on our CKLS YouTube page, and I will email out the handouts and the link to the video probably by the end of the day, but if not, by the end of the week. So, thank you.